Hi, welcome to my video. My name is Bria, for those of you who don't know me. If you do know me, hello, and this is Beast. Recently I have, and Mazzy. Recently I have entered the world of mental health recovery, I guess. And asked a few of my friends if they would be interested in me kind of vlogging about my experience with Lexapro, which is what I'm currently on, and any other potential future experiences I may have. I'm 27, and this is my very first time seeking help for mental health. I have experienced depression and anxiety symptoms since I was young, as far as back as I can remember, and recently moved to a new place and noticed that it's been difficult for me to make habits, build rituals, and just kind of like feel like a general adult in this very new place. And so I finally decided, after wanting to have a therapist and wanting to go to therapy and just get treated for many, many years, that I actually just got healthcare relatively recently that's affordable. So I figured it was time to just do it, Something that I struggle with is self-starting, which is one of the problems I'm seeking help for. And so it took me 3 weeks between calling and leaving a message, or I guess technically I requested an appointment and they called me back and I had to miss it because I was in work. And it took me 3 weeks to finally get the self-motivation to call them back again. But here I am. It's been about 2.5 weeks since I started Lexapro. In a very me fashion, I wanted to blog and journal about it every day, just kind of like so I could figure out what were side effects, what was, some like normal changes, how am I feeling today. I did it for 5 days, 6 days, kinda. I did it for 5 days, and then here I am, haven't done it since. But I've tried to at least touch base with myself once a day and kind of notice how mentally I'm feeling, how physically I'm feeling. I know that I've read a lot of personal experiences and just kind of stories from people who have been on it for weeks, months, years, etc. And I know that it's too early to really tell if it's doing anything. I'm gonna do a secondary video, assuming something maybe changes, or just a follow-up, either at the 4-week or the 6-week mark. 4 weeks is in about a week and a half, so I might push it out to 6 weeks since I'm about 3 weeks in now. Just to see, because there's a lot of stories you feel it settle in, you really feel like it's working. The first 3 weeks, you're like, what the hell? It's not working for me. And then week 4, you're like, oh, okay. I have reached out to my psychiatrist because of my last therapy session. And this is something I'll go into in a different video if you're interested. I'm meeting with my psychiatrist on Tuesday, so in 4 or 5 days, about this. But potentially seeking other medication because my depression stems from my inability to keep focus and be a self-starter, and kind of slew of other problems that I don't think are just me having anxiety and depression. I think it's a lot deeper than that. But my psychiatrist and I, in our first meeting, decided to start with medication for unipolar depression and kind of move on from there. So anyway, it's a little bit of backstory. Sorry, this is probably going to be me prattling on because I don't know how to keep a solid story thread. But we are going to go through a general just overview of what Lexapro is, what SSRIs are, what some of the side effects are, and then I'll take you through my first week of journaling and then just kind of like how I've been feeling since then. So don't mind me, my computer's like right below my camera, and also I know I keep looking in the viewfinder, so just like cut me some slack. This is my first good day in a little while, so here I am. So what is Lexapro? I'm sure you've heard of it, and you probably know friends that have had it, or that have been on it, jokes about it on the internet, what have you. But what is it? So Lexapro, or bear with me, I believe it's escitalopram. It's an antidepressant in a group of drugs called SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So the way they work, just in general, escitalopram or SSRIs, is by increasing the levels of serotonin within your brain, which may be unbalanced in people with anxiety or depression. All the jokes about serotonin, like where the fuck are all my serotonins? This kind of helps increase the amount of serotonin your brain has. And serotonin is a neurotransmitter that's often referred to as like the feel-good hormone. So it's basically what makes you feel happy, what makes you feel like going through your day and getting shit done and just being in general good mood. It carries messages between brain cells and contributes to, again, well-being, good mood, appetite, and it helps regulate your sleep-wake cycle and your internal clock. Hey, buddy. So SSRIs increase the level of serotonin by preventing reuptake of serotonin by nerves. So having more available makes it, having more available in the nerve synapse means that it can transmit messages earlier. And they all work this way. All SSRIs work this way. So basically, if there's more available, they can your little brain cells and neurotransmitters can shoot more serotonin to where it needs to go, which just in general makes you happier. And that's my layman's terms. I'm not a doctor. Don't come to me for professional advice. I did some internet research on Google. So Lexapro is generally used to treat anxiety and major depressive disorder in adults. That's its primary purpose. I know that it can be used for other things, or like some different things in like younger teens, but in adults in general, it's for anxiety and depression. So anyway, my psychiatrist and I kind of discussed whether I kind of go through these cycles and whether it would be mania or something else. She was a little bit nervous about putting me on Lexapro. I guess nervous isn't a good word. That's kind of a negative word. She considered starting me on something else than Lexapro, but decided that trying to treat my unipolar depression first would be the first step, and then if it works or doesn't, then we, reconvene in a month, see if anything's kind of kicking in, and then go from there. But she was a little nervous that I may have an undiagnosed mood disorder, so we'll see. I don't feel as though I do, but I'm not a professional, so anyway, so the side effects of Lexapro, they're usually pretty mild and they last about 2 weeks, and decrease in intensity and frequency like the longer you use it, and then have a tendency to come back as withdrawals if you stop using it or you don't wean off properly. So this is a big bad list. I've got the most common and like lesser common, but still like I've read about it, I experienced some of them, so they still happen. And they're not like the super rare ones that could potentially send you into the hospital or like a manic fit. So the most common list is going to be constipation, diarrhea, dry mouth, gas in the stomach, heartburn, sleepiness or drowsiness, trouble sleeping, and then just general problems with sexual performance, which is like what a lot of people seem to be the most concerned about. Like, it's literally like, I can't keep an erection, I can't get an erection, I can't reach an orgasm, I have no sexual desire, drive, or ability to perform. So I know that's like a big one that people are generally pretty nervous about, and I read a lot about it online. And then the less common ones are like a
bloated or full feeling, burning, crawling, itching, numbness, prickly, like pins and needles feeling throughout your body, chills, cough, decreased appetite, excess air or gas in stomach, fever, general feelings of discomfort or illness, increased sweating, joint pain, muscle aches and pains, pain in the neck or shoulders, pain or tenderness around the eyes and cheekbones, passing gas, runny nose, shivering, sneezing, sore throat, stuffy nose, tightness of the chest, tooth problems, trouble breathing, unusual dreams, unusual drowsiness, dullness, tiredness, weakness, or feelings of sluggishness or yawning.
So, like, in the age of COVID, do I have COVID, or are these just side effects? Alongside of Lexapro, I was also prescribed trazodone because I have trouble getting to sleep. I was drinking ZQL every night, and I have trouble staying asleep. So it's like, it's a long list. And a handful of the ones on the less common I have actually experienced. So we'll kind of go through those now. Anyway, so that's like just supposed to only last 2 weeks. Brain fog's another big one that's not on this list. And then brain zaps are a big one, which I think is the kind of like pins and needles, but like kind of in your head. Thankfully, I haven't experienced those, but I've heard that can be a problem. Specifically when you're going through withdrawals, but also when you're starting a new medication, you can experience that as well. So we're going to go all the way back to day one, which was September 16th. And so I got prescribed it on Tuesday. My doctor has asked me to take it at night. The Lexapro, I'm on 10 milligrams, and I just started straight into 10 milligrams. I didn't start at 5 like some people do. I just right in, just took that deep dive off at 10 milligrams. And then again, beside that, she prescribed trazodone for sleeping as needed. So I don't technically have to take that every day. So on the 15th, I took my medication about an hour before I went to bed, just the Lexapro, and so the 16th was when I was journaling. I technically started on the 15th. So she wanted me to take it before bed, so I didn't have to worry too much about dizziness and nausea. And then I was prescribed a sleeping pill, but with how tired I became immediately after taking the Lexapro, I didn't think that I was going to need the trazodone the first night. I took it with some water and a cup of tea. It'd been about a half an hour since I'd eaten. I got pretty zen and sleepy within 15 minutes of taking my pill. Sorry, I kind of read on and forgot about how bad my first night was. So as soon as we lay down, I noticed I was a little bit dizzy, but nothing super overwhelming. Kind of like just being a little too drunk. You know, you can kind of see the world moving in the corners of your eyes, but like not so dizzy I feel like I'm gonna vomit. But all night long, I was super cold and shivering. I actually broke out an additional blanket that night. We live in the desert, and it's been over 100 degrees every day, and only getting down to about 80 or 90 at night. And with our AC on, still, like, it's only hot enough or only cool enough that we would need like the thin sheet. And I actually broke out like a thicker blanket, like one of these, and have been sleeping with it since. So I've been getting really cold at night, just in general. I've actually been sitting with 3 blankets on the couch. We'll get into that later. But yeah, I was super, super cold, and I shivered all night long, but I was fucking sweating, like just drenched in sweat. I really couldn't get comfortable, and I felt like my heart was racing, and I literally felt like my body was just on the bed and vibrating. Like I just felt, and it wasn't the shivering, you know, it wasn't the, ooh, I'm cold. It was like my body was just, it was insane. I have not experienced that before, and so yeah, it kept me up all night long. I was so uncomfortable. Thankfully, I had Wednesday off, so again, I took it Tuesday night, so I had Wednesday off, so I didn't have to worry about whether or not I was going to get enough sleep. And then racing thoughts set in, and I ended up only being able to sleep until between about 3 and 6 a.m. I usually wear a Fitbit, so I kind of tracked my sleep. We went to bed a little bit after midnight, and did not get to sleep until 3 a.m. just because I was just thinking. My mind would not sit still, and my body was vibrating. It was just the most uncomfortable experience, like just trying to sleep, you know. I tried, it's 9 now, so when I was journaling, it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd gotten out of bed about 7, if I remember right, and just walked down the stairs and came down here and slept on the couch, or laid on the couch. It's 9 now. I've been up since. I've tried on and off to shut my eyes and rest because I'm very tired, but my brain won't turn off. It's just nonsense, nothing important at all. And my shoulder hurts really bad at this point, assumably because I was super tense from being so cold. So a few hours later, a headache started to set in, and I would basically have that headache all day. Stomach was grumbling really loudly, and I was very, very thirsty. Yeah, for the first week, I had super dry mouth too. So about 11 o'clock, I managed to get about an hour's worth of sleep and woke up with an even worse headache than I had earlier. Painfully bloated, lightheaded, had more water, and smart of me, started an energy drink. So, priorities though. Oh, right. And so, this was also the first day of therapy. And so my last time I tried therapy was about 5 years ago in 2015. I was required to, due to some circumstances at work. I think I went twice. This guy told me some things that I didn't really agree with. Like he was trying to just take me down a path that I wasn't comfortable going down at that time. And so I just said, agree to disagree. I can't come back. We just didn't see eye to eye on some issues I was having. So 3 weeks ago was my first therapy appointment since then. So basically my third one ever. So about 1:45, I was waiting to start therapy, you know, just kind of sitting on the couch and waiting, for my therapist to FaceTime me. I ate about 1 o'clock, felt super woozy prior to eating. At 2 o'clock, I'd still have a headache, still feeling lightheaded, but otherwise feeling okay, like stomach-wise, bloating-wise. About 3 o'clock, we left to run some errands. We went to Lowe's and got some pots and like went flower shopping and just kind of went to Target and all the stuff that we usually do on our day off, like when we do our catch-up errands. And when we were outside at Lowe's, we were out in the garden center looking at ceramic pots outside, and I overheated in seconds. I got really, really dizzy. I just like immediately started sweating, which just set some anxiety in. I don't normally have anxiety attacks or panic attacks. I haven't dealt with that in a while. And it just was so anxiety inducing because I was just so hot out of nowhere. And like between like feeling the sun burning my skin and like having a mask on, I saw all of a sudden I just couldn't feel like I was breathing. It was very overwhelming, and so I had to kind of keep being like, I gotta go step in the shade for a minute, like you do you out here, I'll come back. I think we were getting soil too, like we had to spend some time out in the sun, and it was just absolutely unbearable. Got a little bit dizzy in the car on the way home, but nothing super out of control, no nausea. I never vomited or anything like that. 5 o'clock, I ended up taking a nap for a couple hours, and then 7 o'clock, I woke up, still had a bad headache, so I looked into it just to try to find some relief, and naproxen and ibuprofen are no-nos to take with Lexapro. Like, I think it has something to do with your blood pressure and like blood clotting, which like I don't have a problem with my blood. My blood pressure is good, you know, I'm relatively healthy in that area, but just in case, I decided to opt for Tylenol, which is supposed to be the safe option. So we didn't have any Tylenol, so I did have to go out and get some later. So I just kind of had to suck it up that first day. We did end up ordering takeout that night, just because like I wasn't feeling really well and I just wanted to lay down and not really help out in the kitchen that day. And other than just having a headache, I didn't really have any side effects from like the food or anything like that. No adverse side effects from eating. And then my very, very last note for day one was I was a little bit irritable. Snapped at the dogs a couple times that day, just because I was kind of overstimulated, and that made me angry. Which is sometimes something that I deal with like in stressful situations. I can kind of get a little bit irritable a little easier. So as soon as I realized that, knowing that my psychiatrist mentioned that I might have a mood disorder and that Lexapro might actually make it worse, I immediately decided to start trying to track my mood as well. Didn't do a very good job about it. So that's the end of day one. It was the worst of the days, like by far. The headache I had was uncontrollably awful. Not being able to sleep was absolutely unbearable. Like it was just a sad day for my body. So since then, because I'm still in the beginning phases of taking this medication, I have taken trazodone every day along with my Lexapro before I go to bed. I just personally don't want to have that experience again. I figured I'd wait until like the 4-week mark, to see if I can go without it, just because it is technically a, like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's an as needed medication, but since I struggle so much with falling asleep in the first place, and Lexapro didn't really seem to make me super sleepy, it made me kind of drowsy, but not like fall asleep sleepy, I might just have to continue taking that side by side. So day 2, I took both pills about 11:30 at night, obviously the day before, because I wanted to go to bed earlier than midnight. Normally I aim to take my medication around midnight because I'm almost guaranteed to be home and awake at that point. That's when I take my birth control. So we wanted to get to bed a little bit earlier, so I took my pills a little early. Got in bed right around midnight and fell asleep almost immediately. Again, like the trazodone just kicked me right in the ass, and it has almost every night. It's been great. I've been staying asleep, and getting to sleep pretty quickly. So yeah, I stayed asleep all night long as far as I can remember. I don't necessarily feel rested, but I feel okay, and that's how it's been. I don't really feel rested, but I know I slept through the night most nights, unless I had to get up to like go to the bathroom or there was some noise outside or something like that. There's been some construction up the street, and I usually sleep until around 9 o'clock in the morning, and they start around 7. So, so I had to go to work early this day. This was a Thursday. And so I got up around 7 or 8 o'clock, didn't really feel rested, but felt okay. And this note here says, I'm not sure if it's placebo or not, but I've taken out the trash, dropped off a letter in the mailbox, and done a couple other various tasks before leaving for work in the morning, that I would normally think about doing and then just completely not do, or forget even that thought went through my mind. I do think at this point it was kind of placebo. I was just feeling good about starting something new, and again, like, this is a cycle that I go through, and you'll kind of see by the end of the week what I mean, I guess. So felt a little sluggish throughout the day at work, but had renewed energy after leaving. Maybe work just bums me out, and I do have a lot of anxiety that surrounds work. So I just think that, like, that's where that issue is. And I always get anxious about work. Any place I work, whether I like it or not, I have work anxiety. Went to 2 grocery stores and the pet store before going home. I did consider skipping the pet store, which I would normally just put off and then just forget it in general. but actually went to the pet store on my way home. Flirted with getting a headache a few times, but nothing super serious. Otherwise, pretty good. I did do some roller skating in the garage. And that's like a new hobby that I've tried to pick up, but again, it lasted for like a week. I really enjoy it, but I just haven't revisited it, I guess. Again, cycles. There's reasons why I'm trying to get help. So that's it for day 2. You'll see that my notes for the days just get smaller and smaller, mostly because day 1 was so bad that I literally, like, I time-stamped things and everything like that, whereas, like, the rest of the week, I'd come home and try to summarize my day, or, like, while I was sitting in the car before work, just kind of trying to zone out before work, I'd do a little update, then get off work and do another little update. But yeah, the rest of them are a couple paragraphs long to a few sentences by the end of the week. So day 3, I think I slept well. Woke up with my alarm and considered going back to sleep, but I didn't, which is a big thing for me. I laid in bed for a little bit, but then woke up for a few minutes shortly after Nick got up and I joined him. So I think he was getting up to go to work. Felt a little lightheaded when I stood up too quick, but otherwise doing okay. Work was a little difficult for the first few hours, and I was overheating really, really easily, which was making me feel nauseous, but after a while it did eventually subside. I remember this day because I was going to ask to switch with one of the girls at work, because she got off 2 hours before me, but she ended up working at her second job immediately after work. And was kind of panicking a little bit because I felt so bad, like physically, like kind of just felt so but as the day got busier, I just kind of like pushed that to the back of my head, and eventually the nauseousness subsided and I finished my shift in entirety. But yeah, for a little while there, I just like, I felt so nauseous and just kind of like anxious about it. Anxious about being nauseous at work, and just was like, I gotta go home, like I just can't be here anymore. But it ended up being okay. Of course, as soon as I get off work, felt fine and relatively positive for the rest of the day. Nick was having a bad day this day, and I tried to help him, reassure him, and jumped in to finish helping out with dinner. There was just an issue with making dinner that kind of bumped him out. So I jumped in to help finish instead of letting him throw it away. Had my first drink this week, felt a little lightheaded as I was finishing up the glass of wine. What I did not write after that was within like 15 minutes after having a big glass of wine, like I had like the big wine glass, I was drunk. I was like just one glass of wine. I didn't have a second glass of wine. It kind of ruined me for the rest of the night. I did feel pretty lightheaded afterwards, but like I went from, ooh, I'm kind of woozy to, holy shit, I'm drunk. And then we went to bed. So, like we didn't stay up too much longer. It didn't really cause an issue. But I just remember distinctly being like, whoa, where did this come from? I have no idea. Like, this is insane. So that's day 3. Yeah, like, again, I have a lot of anxiety that surrounds work, just in general. So that possibly played into my nauseous feelings. But after I got home from work, I felt pretty positive. I tried to help Nick feel a little bit better about what was going on. And yeah, it was overall like a pretty okay day. So day 4 is like the best day I've had, probably until today-ish. I haven't done a whole lot today, but day 4 was just insanely productive. So before I get into that, I did note at the top of day 4 some other side effects that I've kind of noticed have been a trend. So every day, and since then this continues to be true, I wake up with a sore jaw. So I think that I'm starting to clench my jaw in my sleep, which is also another reason why I want to try to not use trazodone at night and see if that has anything to do with it. Again, the first night I did Lexapro with no trazodone. like my whole body was shaking and I was super tense. So it could potentially be the Lexapro that's doing that. But I would be curious to know just if that's linked to the sleeping pill, or if that's linked to the Lexapro. I've also been prone to, as I mentioned earlier, be a lot colder recently. I've been sleeping with 2 blankets and then turning the fan off during the day when I can. So like the couch, there's a fan up there. It's not off right now, but again, like I said earlier, I've been sitting on the couch with 3 blankets, sometimes 4. So, yeah, even though like I work in kind of like an open air bar, it's partially outside. So when I'm outside, it doesn't really get to me as much, but like when I'm inside, I'm a lot colder than I would normally be, if that makes sense. Like my body temperature just kind of seems to have dropped a little bit. But on the flip side of that, despite me being colder, I am sweaty as hell. Like I am sweating so much more than I used to. And like I'm not a super sweaty person. Like my armpits get a little sweaty when I'm working, but like I can feel my face sweating, I can feel my neck sweating, I can feel my legs sweating. Like it's just like I hate it. Yeah, so like I'm prone to cold, like chills, and shivering, but I'm also prone to sweating more frequently, which again, those 3 things I think are on that list of less common side effects. And then body-wise, I've noticed a few things, and these still continue to be true as well. So mildly constipated, sorry. I was relatively regular beforehand, and now I'm not so much. Frequent hunger cues, but unable to eat as much in one sitting. So I used to be like a 2 meals, maybe a snack a day person, but like the meals, specifically dinner, were large meals. Like the majority of my calories in one day would come in one meal. And now I'm kind of starting to get back into my old ways of eating, like being able to eat more in one sitting. That's not necessarily a good thing. But I feel more frequently the urge to have a small snack. Like my hunger cues are coming more frequently, as opposed to like being able to work for 9 hours without feeling hungry and then needing to eat a massive meal at the end of the day. So I've started carrying snacks around me started carrying snacks around with me in my purse, that are easy to eat at work and just kind of like quick to get down. So that's really helped out a lot. One of the misconceptions about starting Lexapro is that it helps you gain, or that it causes you to gain weight. And like it does in a sense, but it's not like the drug is making you gain fat. It is the drug potentially increases your appetite because serotonin triggers you to feel hungry more often. Which is why sometimes in people with depression, you don't have an appetite because your serotonin is not there to trigger that cue. So it balances that out and triggers a hunger cue more frequently, and so now you're eating more, which causes you to ultimately gain weight if you're not like careful about the way that you go about this. It's the same thing with birth control, which again, like I started a new pill, like birth control for the first time in over a year, like a month before I started Lexapro. So it's something that I've been super aware of. Like my hunger cues, I've been trying to keep track, not like counting macros or anything, but just being mindful about how much I'm eating in one setting if I've been snacking throughout the day, because I know that like the increase in hormones and the increase in serotonin in my body is gonna make me want to eat more, and I love to eat. So anyway, back to day 4. Again, like I said, those notes that I made at the beginning of day 4 still hold to be true. I don't know if they're extended side effects or if they're going to be like mildly permanent changes to my body. But day 4 was when I was like, there's a pattern going on here. So anyway, this following sentence is no longer true. Anyway, I found that when my alarm goes off that I wake up and I'm actually awake. That stopped about 3 days after this note. I've tried to go back to sleep out of habit and I just can't. I still don't necessarily feel rested, but at least I'm not sleepy enough to fall back asleep. I woke up in time to see Nick off to work, feeling fine so far. Today was a great day. So this was at the end of the day. Like literally I woke up pretty early. I think Nick worked lunch, so he probably worked like around 10 or 11 o'clock to almost dinner time. And so that first note was from the morning time. This last paragraph is from the end of the day. So today was a great day, honestly. Is it working or is it just mania? I organized and put away a ton of stuff that had been sitting around the house for ages. I finished a couple projects that have been on my to-do list for a while, including cut down the pothos and begin propagating all the cuttings. I had a giant pothos plant fall out of my ceiling the other day and just destroyed it. So I kind of cut it down and propagated everything I could save. And I built the shelf I bought for knickknacks. And that was a shelf I literally had in my back bedroom upstairs, like in one of our side rooms, for over a month. And it just been, it started sitting down here, and then I moved it up there and just forgot about it. At night, Nick and I went on a short outing where he took the dogs and I roller skated around the block. So like I felt so good. I felt like I was getting things done, you know, like I was just kind of ticking things off my to-do list that I had been meaning to do for a while. And like not every day needs to be that productive by any means, but it felt good to have a pretty good day at the end of day 3, like feeling positive. And then day 4, like I actually got some stuff done. It was awesome. And then by the end of the day, I'm like, there's no way. This is only day 4. There is absolutely no way that it's kicked in yet. Seeing as it's supposed to take 4 to 6 weeks to settle. And so I got nervous that it was mania and that Lexapro is actually making me go crazy because I have like potentially an undiagnosed mood disorder. And again, that's it basically counteracts with your system according to my psychiatrist and just could make you even more suicidal and even more manic. So I was like, today's a great day. Oh no. But that was the last like super great productive day. And yeah, it felt really good. Like it felt very neurotypical to get up and get some stuff done. So the 20th and the 21st, this is day 5 and 6 condensed down into 4 sentences. And again, this is the last of my journaling for the first week. Mostly uninteresting days. I felt fine for the most part. Still feeling like digestive, appetite, and AM jaw pain side effects, if that makes sense. On the 5th day, I got a ripper of a headache around 6 or 7 p.m. and it just didn't let up until I took a couple Tylenol. And I believe it was later in the week that I ended up getting just this absolute horrid headache at work too. On the 6th day, I experienced a little overstimulation at work when a few people stood very close to me and talked around me while I was trying to help a guest. I work in the restaurant industry, and I can't remember if the bar was open on day 6 or not. Yeah, I can't remember. But like, one thing that kind of triggers a little bit of anxiety in me is when I'm trying to converse with somebody and multiple people come around and talk through me or talk to me. Whew! It just like I could feel my blood pressure just shoot up, and all of a sudden I just get the shakes and I kind of shut down. And that's happened a few times since then too. Like it happens at work. So obviously that hasn't gone away yet, if it will. So anyway, that was the first week. Yeah. That was my first week with Lexapro. Since then, I've experienced a handful of headaches in week 2, and continued clenched jaw, like kind of soreness in the morning. Again, I still continue to be colder than normal, but also sweating more than normal. My hunger cues, like I said, they're kind of evening back out, like kind of balancing back out what they used to be. But I still get, in fact, I had a snack before I started this, and I had lunch like 4 hours ago. So like they still continue to be a little bit different than they used to be. My digestion's a little bit funny, compared to what it used to be. Like my bathroom habits, again, sorry, but like it's just different. There's something else I can't remember. Yeah, and then otherwise, like I said, like I'm sleeping through the night and I'm going to sleep really quickly, but I'm still not feeling rested. Like I mentioned earlier, my like note on day 5 or 4 was like, I'm feeling awake when I wake up in the morning. That's no longer true. I think that was just kind of an excitement for something new, because I've been not necessarily snoozing my alarm, but the alarm just doesn't wake me up, which is always something I've kind of struggled with. Like I'll hear it go off, and then either I snooze it or I'm like, yeah, I'll get up, and then I fall back asleep for a half an hour, which has caused on multiple occasions for me to be late for work or for, engagements, whatever. Anything else? Yeah, so week 2 was mostly just kind of like, I felt pretty even keel, but I had some headaches, and then again, those like daily side effects that I'm experiencing that just might be kind of a change moving forward. Starting week 3, so again, I'm like halfway through week 3. This week I've felt very empty. I still have the ability to like express my emotions, which like emotional blunting is something that people will talk about, as a side effect or like a long-term side effect of Lexapro. I don't feel as though I'm experiencing that, because I can recognize like I feel happy. I'm having fun. I love you. But again, and this is mostly at work still, so maybe it's like, I don't know. My therapist and I need to talk about my relationship with jobs because it's not healthy. But like, interacting with other people, I kind of have been disassociating this week and just feeling very empty. I don't know if it's brain fog. I just kind of like feel myself zoning out more often than usual. I had a coworker tell me the other day that I spend too much time in my head and that I'm really like, what was the word he used? Spacey. And I've just been feeling that a lot more this week, just kind of zoning out, and I can just do one task, but I'm not paying attention to anything. My hands are just doing something normal, or not normal, but doing something repetitive that I don't have to think about. So yeah, I know that my coworkers have kind of noticed a bit of a change, and I've told a handful of people like I'm experiencing some side effects, so like just bear with me. But I've just felt overall very like not all the way here this week. Again, coming home, it's a little bit different, like I enjoy my time at home. I just recently built this shelf that all these plants back here are sitting on, and like that brought me a lot of joy to kind of see our living room kind of come together. So again, like I'm not experiencing any like blunting emotionally, at least not what I would consider emotional, like my emotions aren't curbing or anything. But yeah, that's what I'm currently going through. That being said, I know this is getting kind of long, but that's just kind of my general overview for my first 2.5 weeks of Lexapro. Again, week 4 is supposedly when it just kind of like settles in, and a lot of people have said like you wake up one day and you're like, oh, there it is. Week 4 to 6 is what my psychiatrist said to expect. I'm actually talking to her again on Tuesday, like I mentioned earlier, because of my most recent therapy appointment. We kind of discovered some things that could potentially lead me to need different medication, I guess. But after that appointment, if there's a big update, I'll let you know. So yeah, thank you for bearing with me. Hopefully this was educational or insightful or helpful in any way. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I'm obviously not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. This is just my personal experience with Lexapro. If you do have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. Mazzy's gonna join me while I say goodbye. There's the Mazzy. Hi, Mazzy. Oh, hello. Okay. Yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will do my best to answer them. Again, no like medical professional questions. I can't really answer like what dosage you should be taking or anything, but like any questions about side effects or like my experience, or like if you are interested in me kind of going more into like what my lifelong side effects have been or anything like that, yeah, please let me know. I'm happy to share. I'm trying to be as open with this as I can be, just because it's not only a new experience for me after just kind of like knowing that something wasn't right for so long, seeking assistance to just kind of like be a little more productive and successful in my daily life. Yeah, it's a new experience, and I'm happy to share. Oh, I was also gonna say, like, I'm trying to be honest with myself about the way I'm feeling, because I don't want to wake up one day and be like, why am I just a fucking empty shell? So I want to make sure that this is kind of doing what it's supposed to be doing, without changing me negatively. So yeah, that's that on that. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you found it helpful, I would definitely appreciate that. And again, like I said, any comments or questions you have, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, this is us signing off for the day. I will check in with you in like 2-ish weeks, probably, between the 4 and 6 week mark, just kind of depending on how I feel and what my next appointment with my psychiatrist goes like. So yeah, thank you for bearing with me. Sorry, I don't know how to tell a story in a linear fashion, but I hope you found this helpful. I know it's like the 3rd time I've said this, but yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I will see you next time.